I'm Lewis, just Lewis, and welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be the second video of my story time series, and it's going to be a bit more morbid than the average story time. I never actually explained the full story that happened to Goldeen on my channel. I explained in a vlog somewhere, I can't remember which one now, that she passed away and I got a new fish, but I never actually explained how. So I asked my mum for a pet one day and she said no, because I wasn't trustworthy enough to have a pet to look after. And then one day I came home from a friend's house and I had two goldfish that were sitting on my desk in a bowl. First off, you're not supposed to have fish in a bowl because it can ruin their eyesight, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know anything about fish. I was ecstatic. I had these two new pet goldfish that I called Goldeen and Rocket. 2 weeks into having them, I asked Bethany to come over and we watched this video and we see a goldfish in the video and we're like, oh look, that looks like Goldeen. And we look to the left, we've been out all day, and see both of my goldfish, Goldeen and Rocket, floating in the water. So the tank that I had was a circle bowl tank and it didn't have a lid. It had gathered dust in the tank and obviously must have suffocated my fish. I ran to the sink as quickly as I could, taking the bowl with me. Bethany was panicking as well. We didn't know what to do. I filled the sink up with water from the tap. I just took both of them out, put them in there. Goldeen, I laid her down, I was rubbing her belly in the water, and then all of a sudden, just poof, a load of dust just comes out and she just swims really fast. I've done the same for Rocket and sadly he didn't make it. I only had him for 2 weeks, so I wasn't that attached towards him, so I wasn't that upset. But it was still upsetting that one of my new goldfish that I had died. Obviously that tank wasn't working, so I got a new tank, and that was the tank that you saw around the time I created my channel. I cleaned Goldeen's tank. Interesting. Skip forward 1.5 years to 2 years, I had Goldeen. So my sister was moving out, so I was getting a new room. And I was a bit upset that I couldn't keep my old room and decorate that, but I was glad that I got this room because it's a lot bigger. I got all new furniture and Goldeen was the only thing that I got to bring into here. So after that, skip forward, I stay at a friend's house. I asked my mum to look after my fish. She said, yeah, it's fine, everything's good. I come home the next morning, I come into my room and feel a heat wave hit me in the face. The window's closed, the heat is blaring, and it's burning hot in my room, and I was like, oh my god, it's so hot in here, why? I don't use a heater because I like the cold. I sit down and I look at my tank and Goldeen isn't in my tank, and I was so confused, I was so scared of what happened. So I went over to the tank and I took the lid off and Goldeen was floating in the water. I put my finger in the water and the water was boiling hot. So pretty much Goldeen was killed from suffocation and heat. Because Goldeen was a cold water fish, so she was supposed to stay in cold water. Because it was so hot, clearly she died from the heat. I burst into tears, I was upset, I was crying because that was my first pet that I had for 2 years and I had an attachment to Goldeen. The only thing that went from that room to here, memory of mine that I sad that went. I asked around who put a heater in my room, who turned it on. Turns out it was my dad that put the heater on and thought he was doing a good deed, but then didn't think of the consequences it would be for my pet. I took Goldeen out, I put her in a little plastic container and I buried her out my garden. I thought it was a bit of a wrong funeral to just flushing her down the toilet. She meant a lot to me, so I buried her out my garden. It was pitch black outside, but I had my phone flashlight on, my mum was holding it for me as I buried her. She died in September and I didn't want another fish at this point. Skip forward to February, I got new fish because I thought it was time that I had a fresh start and moved on. I got bait on my better fish and he was beautiful, I loved him. And I got 6 neon tetras, 6 black neon tetras. I'd come home from college every 2 days, there'd be another fish dead in the tank. I was so confused of what was happening. I didn't know how to look after these because these are tropical fish, not just your average goldfish that goes in cold water. These need room temperature, filtered, air stone so that they can breathe. I didn't even know they need water tap conditioner. I didn't know any of this at the time, so I was so confused. It got to the point where about 9 of them died and I had 3 black ones left. As Rocket, I didn't have them long enough to be upset to the max, like Goldeen. I thought, oh, maybe it was just those type of fish because my sister said she got them and they died. A week later, I went with my friend Aaron to this place called Doby's in Milton Keynes where they had African dwarf frogs. I got 2 African dwarf frogs and I was so happy at the time that I got them, until one day I come home from college and one of them was caught in a little pump that I bought because it was cheap. Don't try and go the cheap route when you're buying pets because it doesn't work in the end, trust me. I was so confused if they were dying from the pump or dying from the water and then going into the pump. It got to a point where I was like, that's it, I can't do this anymore. Me and Aaron went to Pets at Home a week later and I got a new tank, which is the one I have now. I bought an air stone, got a thermometer, and I bought a filter, and I researched as much as I could into it, and I found out a lot of information about keeping tropical fish. All of the fish that I have now have lived since that day I got them, and I'm happy to that. But sadly, recently, 2 days ago, my betta fish has died. I don't know what it was that he died from. Probably stress from the old tank, probably stress from moving from that tank to the other, because he had fin rot. Fin rot basically is bacteria in the tank that deteriorates the fins, and because he had that, I thought, oh, maybe he needs his own space, maybe he needs medicine. So I was doing that, I was changing him from tank to tank. He was getting better, then getting worse, to the point where I left him in his own tank, and then I woke up, he was flopping on the floor, and I knew he wasn't going to last long until later on that day I found him dead. And that was 2 days ago. It's sad because I'm buying these pets to look after them, but about how they can die so easily. People think fish are the first thing you can normally get as a pet. They're not. I know a lot more information about pets now than I did then. When you're getting a pet, make sure you do your research because it is crucial to your pet's safety. Don't just get a pet because it looks cute or it looks pretty or whatever. I've got my 5 Corridoro catfish, 2 peppered, 2 bronze and 1 albino. I've got my mountain Dinostratus, my 3 neon black tetras that survived from my old tank, and I've got my frog Flippy and my yellow rabbit snail Eldin. Will I get another betta fish? I'm not sure yet because they are very hard to look after because they are so delicate with their fins. It's just a lesson well learned that you need to always look at what you're doing before you go and do it. Anyway guys, that's it for today's storytime video. I hope you liked this. Like, subscribe and comment down below and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Bye.